You see over here this grape behind you? I don't know if you realize where you are, but I live in a place where you can't grow grapes. I can tell you he's been here in the past where this had a very, very thick, heavy leader coming out of it. It's not here today because something killed it and the whole thing died back. This was 2 years ago. I cut this to a stump 2 years ago. This is all in 2 years growth. Wow. Everything you see here, I pruned a lot off because I had to get through here. But this is 2 years growth from a stump. This is what I love about God, that He's so redemptive. Even though that thing had died because there were still roots in the ground, it came back in abundance. It's because that's His character. He's so redemptive. He's so into restoring and returning and giving back.
He prunes.
Yeah. Now you guys are, those are eating the carrots. See these carrots here? These are for my winter.
I bet they could get better.
These I planted in August. Oh, by seed.
Which August?
This August. This August?
Last month?
This is my winter carrots. This will feed me all winter. Wow. And you see, I don't go to the store because nothing in the store I want is all poisonous. And you see, in the wintertime, these carrots, when the ground freezes, get a lot sweeter. And I have live food the entire year. All this kale will feed me all winter. All those beets, all that parsley.
They're already sweet. I mean,
but when
usually I have to wait till
when it freezes, they get a lot sweeter.
Even more.
And so for I want you to hear me that we were never created to ever go to a store to get food. You're laughing. I'm being real. Can I tell you something the Creator showed me that was really huge? You guys have time?
Yes, sure.
You know, when this Adam started tilling the ground, I couldn't figure out why he'd ever do that because he knew better. Did you hear me? He was in the garden the Father planted, and every afternoon he was going on tours with him, on walks, showing him how to maintain it. So he knew how to do it right. He knew how to do it right. Why, when he got outside the garden, did he begin tilling? Because he knew better. I had to ask because it makes no sense. Would you intentionally create work for yourself? That man created all this hard work for us. I'm saying why? He knew better. Here's what the Father told him was huge. Huge. You see, when man was created in the image of God, are you following me? How does the Bible define God? God is a spirit, and those that worship in spirit and truth. Adam and Eve were created spirit beings. And you know what the body was? The clothing for the spirit. That's why they weren't naked.
Good.
They weren't naked because the body clothed the spirit. When man shifted from the spirit to the natural mind, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, he realized he was naked, no longer had a covering. When man looks at the covering on the ground, he says in his mind, you can't grow in that, you have to have dirt. So he takes the covering off so he can see the dirt because he can't believe for what he can't see. Because it made no sense. What is he doing this for? See, exposing the dirt, the dust will show this doesn't work, we keep doing it. We're losing all the earth's topsoil and man keeps exposing dirt. It doesn't work. Because he's operating from the natural mind, can only believe for what he can see, he exposes the dirt. So here's what God showed me that blew me away, that I say you'll never get this in church or any book. This was huge. I walked my dog down the driveway and this is now God talked to me about why he did this. When Adam sinned, what was the response of the Father? He came for his normal walk and said, Adam, where are you? I'm over here hiding. Well, why are you hiding? Well, I ate that tree I shouldn't have. I'm naked. What did the Father do? He killed an animal. Because the Word says without the shedding of blood, there's no remission of sins. And then he created clothing for Adam and Eve. So he demonstrated his redemptive, forgiving heart. Are you hearing me? The enemy came in right after and told Adam, you're an orphan. You don't have a father. You're an orphan. And you got to take care of yourself. See, the orphan spirit is all about survival. So here's what was huge. It really got my attention. When he was put outside the garden, it wasn't because he was being rejected. God didn't want eating of the tree of life to maintain eternal life in a fallen state, so he put him outside of the garden, away from the tree. But he didn't reject it. But Satan told him he's an orphan. And because the Bible says, as a man one thinks in their heart, so are they, because he believed a lie, he walked in that reality. So track with me. Outside the garden, it took him some time to clear a space for a garden. He had to take the cover off, which in the garden, that area was probably pretty thick. So he's clearing a space. Then he had to design in his mind a tilling tool. There weren't any shovels. There's no Walmart. He had to create in his mind, how do I break this up? And then he had to make it. Then after he made it, this is what really got my attention. He had to go find seed to plant in his garden. Where did he get the seed? That's from plants that's producing the seed that he's eating all this time. Excuse me. This is taking several months to get to this stage, and he's eating quite well. And obviously, the seed he's getting to plant his garden was already there, that he's been eating from. And he's believing, I'm an orphan. I got to take care of myself. I'm not being provided for. I'm flipping out. I mean, the evidence was so obvious. That's not the reality, because he believed a lie. He's walking in that reality. You see, Jesus brings that to attention in the Sermon on the Mount when he makes a statement. He says, consider the birds of the air, and he includes all the animals. They don't sow, they don't reap, they don't store food in barns, but your Heavenly Father takes care of them. And then he poses a question to get our attention. He says, aren't you of more value than them? What he's saying is the Father planned on taking care of you all the same. You disconnected because of a lie that you believe that you're more valuable. I'm telling you that it's huge.
It's good.
And so I want you to get it today that we're living in times that it's not safe to be buying food from the store. And God has changed. He's still a provider. And today he's going to show you as you walk through how easy and simple it is to grow all your food. And he hasn't changed. And he wants to take care of you. And to believe that he doesn't is a lie. You need to clear your mind of that lie and believe the truth that he's a father who cares and can provide, because that will be the reality. For the spirit. See, they were spirit conscious.
Right.
In a spirit consciousness, the body clothed the spirit. When they moved from that consciousness to the mind, they had no covering. They're looking at their body, the exposed body, and they realize, I'm not covered, because they're operating from the natural mind. You see, the brain operates what they can see. The spirit is what you can't see. Faith, you don't see.
So they changed from the heart
To the mind.
Yeah.
And that's where they lost it. That's where they lost it. And you see, that's how Satan got Eve. Had she stayed in the spirit, she'd have never believed the lie that God's ripping her off. Satan comes, hath God said you can't have this? And she stayed in the spirit, she says, well, God would never deprive me of anything. He's good. Because she went to the mind, that's where he took her out.
Yep.
Because if the mind will doubt, it questions. The spirit doesn't. That's why the words tell us we're to walk by the Spirit, because faith comes by the Spirit. And faith is only that pleases God. You know, it's quite simple when you get it.
Doubt is the enemy of faith.
Yeah. And James says if you doubt, you'll get nothing from God. You totally cut yourself off. And doubt comes from where? Right here, not here. This believes, this doubts. I'm telling you, it's huge. It's so huge.
I have a small question.
Yes.
Which chips is it coming from? A certain type of tree?
No, this is a great question. He's asking about the witches come from a certain kind of tree. Well, if you guys go to school, listen, all these things are on the floor that you people pulled out didn't eat. Did you throw over the fence for the sheep, because that's kind of a mess in my garden before you showed up. That wasn't there.
Oh, I see.
I don't know if you noticed, but you know I was raised in a Swiss German culture that the training is everything has a place it should be in place, and this place is not cluttered, and there's nothing on the ground out of place. It's really. And so when you drop stuff on the ground, I gotta come pick it up because I can't stand clutter. So please don't do that. And so and just throw them over the fence because the sheep will eat them.
So the type of wood chips.
The type of wood chips is a very important question. You see, you were taught in school that you can't use cedar, you can't use pine, you can't use walnut. Those are toxic materials, you can't grow anything in those. But I noticed that the Creator in nature has no landfill somewhere off in the universe. He's packing all that stuff off. You guys are laughing. I'm being serious. So there's no demonstration in nature that tells me you can't use this. Because in nature, pine needles fall on the ground, everything grows fine. See, right back in my woods over there, you see my woods? See all those trees up front are cedars? You look behind it, all those dark green fir trees? Well, the cedars flag more, meaning the cherry leaves turn brown in the winter, in the summer, more than other trees, and all the stuff's on the ground. And no one, God doesn't rake it up and haul it off.
Not yet.
And everything's going great. And what I'm getting in the spirit is that even though the cedar has tannic acid that isn't as toxic, by the time it gets to the roots of the composting process, it's not there. And this genius God who thought this all up didn't miss anything. Nothing's out of his mind. You know what he did for me? Because I'm kind of a slow learner. He had, out of his kindness, had a tree service bring me an entire truckload of walnut wood chips.
Nice.
We're talking like 10 yards of nothing but walnut. And this is in Swim. This is in August where it's drought and no rain happens. And I got this now 4.5 foot raised bed of walnut wood chips. We're talking raised bed, 4.5 feet. Somehow a walnut went through the chipper, didn't break, and starts growing out of the top of this 4.5 foot raised bed in August with no rain, no water. So God, I says, God, you have my attention. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
You have my attention. This shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
Because nothing grows in walnuts. This is what I was told. And this is 4.5 feet raised bed with no water. And it's green. And every 2 weeks I come in to mow the grass, it's bigger and greener. And growing quite well. And so I got lied to. Things grow fine in walnut wood chips. And so pine is awesome. I love pine. The needles are really... When I was in California and I grew strawberries, because our ground's really hard and compact, we have to water all the time, so you have mud. And so your strawberries are muddy. Then snails would come and eat the strawberries. So we had this pine tree in our yard that I had to mow the grass under, so I'd rake up the needles and I'd put underneath the strawberries to get them up off the ground so they weren't muddy. And what I found is not only they weren't muddy, but because the pine needles are pokey, they're sharp, the snails wouldn't crawl across. And I had awesome strawberries.
And lots of
So I'm just starting to get that all these things that in our natural mind we think are negative and a drag and don't work have really wonderful benefits. And are really designed with great genius behind them.
Yes.
And quite good. And so again, I always come back to go to nature. So if they tell you can't use something, it's a lie. God uses all of it and doesn't haul anything off. And every living material, here's the word, from dust we came, from dust return. Everything God's created turns back to dirt, and nothing's toxic. Conversely, everything man does, doesn't turn back to dirt, and it's really toxic.
yeah.
I'm just being real, and we got to understand what we're being told. And like I tell you, and if what you're told doesn't line up with nature, if you don't see it happening in nature, you can be sure it's a lie. Really, it's true. Really, it's true. And just, you know, they'll tell you can't put wood chips up against your tree trunks. I put them 16 inches deep around my tree trunks. They're fine. If you look at nature when the wind blows, needles and leaves bank up the tree trunks, foot and a half deep. No one rakes those away. They're fine. See, and I think how mean of them. Could you imagine the irritant to maintain this little space around your tree trunk? You know, to collect all your weeds and trash that blow in there? I mean, they create these lives to make life hard for us. I mean, it's mean. And you realize where it's coming from. The enemy who came to rob, kill, and destroy. I mean, come on. It's very basic. It's not rocket science.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Do you have termite problems, and how do you deal with them?
I don't have termites, but I have wood ants.
Okay.
I've got carpenter ants. Let me tell you about termites and carpenter ants. This is huge. Termites and carpenter ants will only attack dead, dry wood. They will never move into a living environment. See, wood chips laying on the ground have funguses, bacteria, all kinds of life forms living there. Termites will never go there. Can I tell you something powerful about wood chips? This came as an accident, but it was, again, every time you get this stuff, you're blown away at the wisdom of God. The girls who did the film live in Big Sur, California, and the neighbor next door, their house caught on fire and burnt to the ground before the fire department got there, the remote area. When the fire department came, they're putting all the ashes out, all the embers out, and they came to their house to make sure nothing was over there. And when the fire chief saw all these wood chips around their house where they're growing produce, he was like blown away. He says, "Wow, that is amazing fire retardant." That would be.
It won't burn.
It won't burn.
Wow.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How did you do that? Well, we just grow food in it because it works great. So I'm just telling you, at all levels, when you come into wood chips, there's just these benefits that you just are just unending benefits. You notice as you're walking on this stuff how buoyant it feels on your feet? I want you to do something for me. Watch this guy here. I want you to pound this guy as hard as you can. Really pound on it.
I'm light. Yeah, you see carrying my hands comes out to me.
Now, after you've done all that pounding, you can see his heart raise up. I want you to reach over and run your hands through it and see how easy it moves.
Oh wow.
Did you see that? Now, had you done that in a rose-filled garden,
Oh, packed it.
you'd be tearing your fingernails off.
Right.
Did you see that? You see, this is impossible to compact. Impossible. If you drove a truck on it,
There
if
you
you
go.
pound on it all day long, it won't compact because it's so full of life and air.
Sorry, I got careful.
What's the first ingredient to all of life, without which everything dies immediately? Oxygen. Duh. In compacted hard ground, there's no oxygen. In this stuff,
Full of it.
full of it, unlimited. So you start to connect the dots, getting how powerful this is and how it works. Let me tell you about water. I grew up in Los Angeles in the 50s. In the 50s, when water bottles did not exist. There was no such thing as a water bottle when I was a child in the 50s. I live in Los Angeles, which is a desert. We're talking like, desert. And it's hot there all summer, like 90, 100 degrees.
It's still hot now.
It's so hot. And what I'm telling you is back when I was a child growing up, we were working all day long out in the sun, and we're not thirsty because our food had water in it. Back then, plants had roots, and they were hydrated with the food we're eating. Today, there's no water in any of your produce. That's why it's so light. And you're drinking water for your meals because you're thirsty. You know the genius of the Father who put water in your food? This is the genius of God. You see, when you eat that cucumber there, and you should because it's really good. Go for it. Just let them see the water content. It's all water now. You see, when you're eating that and it's full of water, as you chew up that cucumber, it's a water-soluble formation, which is easily digestible, easily absorbed. So it doesn't take a lot of work to digest. So this is kind of a genius idea. Conversely, when you buy one from the store that has no water and you're thirsty and you're drinking with your meal, digestion starts with saliva. As you add water to that, you dilute the whole digestive process all the way down. So drinking water for your meals is the most counterproductive thing you can do to get nutrition from your food. You see, when you're eating that, you're not thirsty. You're not thinking about drinking water because it's all there. Same with that carrot. See, you're hydrated.
It's very juicy.
And you see, this is how God made it. And you see, now today, the farmers are watering just as much as they always have because the ground's compacted and hard and sterile. Roots can't develop, and there's no water going to the plants. No matter how much they water, it's not going to the plants because there's no roots. Now, let me take you over here and show you about roots because I'm going to blow your mind with how awesome roots develop in this stuff.